This is the story of Aaron's life. Aaron was a slave who worked on a plantation in the 18th century. He was an Amina man who came from Ghana and was 70 when the story takes place. The plantation where he is enslaved is in the West Indies. Aaron was baptized at the age of 69. After his baptism, he was a completely changed man. He was devoted to his faith ever since this religious ritual. The Moravian Church was active at the plantation in which Aaron lived and worked. The Moravian Church had a goal of educating and spreading Christianity. This was a goal many Christians had. In the book, The African Slave Trade and Its Remedy by T.F. Buxton, he writes, "But when I come to humanity, justice, and the duties of Christian men, I stand upon a rock. It may be, or it may not, that while we act under the impulse of charity to the most afflicted of mankind, we are also obeying the dictates of the most far-sighted policy and the most refined ambition." White Christians often justified the colonization and exploitation of African people. This is what happened to Aaron. He was stripped of his previous culture and possibly his previous religion due to the indoctrination of the Christian religion. One Sunday, Aaron had gone to church. He was happy while at church, which was noticed in his radiant expression. Shortly after this day, on the following Monday, he began to fall ill. Aaron let others know that he was not feeling well, but this did not matter. Aaron had to work anyways. This was due to the overseers and bambas, which are enslaved supervisors, not believing slaves when they claimed to be sick. If an illness or injury was not visible enough to them, they would make the slaves continue to work. These overseers have no compassion and are very driven in their work, so Aaron continued to work even though his illness was quite serious. By the time Friday came, Aaron's sickness got worse and he could barely walk. In response, Aaron said, "The Lord knows it, and I will keep going until I could no longer stand up." He continued to push himself in his work until he physically could no longer. Aaron then walked away from his work and found a tree stump. He sat down and leaned against it. Aaron lifted his head toward heaven and prayed. Shortly after, he slumped over and passed away. Aaron's body was buried by Anton, who was a native assistant to the Moravian missionary community. Aaron's neighbors, brothers, and sisters of the missionary community attended his burial. To these people, Aaron was remembered for how obedient and respectful he was to his master and savior till the very end. Even though Aaron was treated in a cruel, immoral, and unjustifiable ways, he remained loyal. After all of Aaron's suffering, he was now at peace with his Savior in the afterlife. Aaron was not seen or valued by his oppressors. They would recognize him for his work ethic and faithfulness, but he was never seen by his master as a real equal human being. In the book The Wretched of the World, Frantz Fanon writes, "At times, this Manichaeism goes to its illogical conclusion and dehumanizes the native, or to speak plainly, it turns him into an animal." Aaron was ignored when ill and suffering. If treated when he first fell sick, maybe he could have lived a longer life. Even though Aaron left a legacy of his obedience to his master, this loyalty didn't go both ways. Aaron's master saw him as an animal whose purpose was to work.